up, YouTube? We back with another video. This will be part 2 of my other video, my birth story. This will be baby number 2. I did miss some things in the other video, but it's okay. Y'all got the gist of it, and I probably missed some stuff in this video as well. But like I said, you guys get the gist of it. But just make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't seen the first video, go back and go watch it. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Going on to the second baby. So I had her December 4th of 2021. So last month. Well, almost 2 months now because we're going into February. But yeah, so hers was a little different. I forgot to mention the cerclage. So with my first daughter, I got the cerclage out when I was like 36 weeks, and then she was born like 2 weeks after the cerclage. Yeah, like 2 weeks. No, it was like a week after, a week and a half. A week after I had her. They took out the stitch. They snipped it out, and I had her a week after. I had a cerclage with the second one as well. And they took it out. And man, when I tell you, when they took that out, I thought I was about to have her that day. But I didn't. She ended up coming like 3 weeks after. And it seemed like forever because at the end of pregnancy, you just really be ready to have a baby. Like, you just be like, I'm sick of this. I don't even care. Just get them out. Because you be like tired and uncomfortable and just big for no reason. But with her, I had a scheduled induction date. I believe I had one with the first one too, but I didn't make it to the scheduled induction date. So after they took the cerclage out, they scheduled this induction date for December 3rd. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have her like right after Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving Day. I'm thinking I'm gonna have her like around that time, like in November, because my due date was December 15th. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have her in November because I had my first baby early or whatever, so I'm gonna have her early. No. Well, I did have her early, but it was at the induction date. So on the day of December 3rd, nope, December 2nd, I'm calling triage. Like, y'all didn't tell me what time I'm supposed to be there. I thought it was supposed to be in the morning. Nobody called me. Like, when do I come in? Or whatever. And they was like, we call you the day of your induction. And I'm like, that don't make no sense. I wanted it to be in the morning. I don't want it to be at night because at this point, I'm going to have her on Saturday or Sunday. So they like, yeah, we call you the day of. So then I'm like, okay, whatever. I have an attitude. And the next day, December 3rd, they call me in the morning to tell me that they going to call me later on because they backed up and there's so many people. And I'm like, well, what the heck you called me for? I was like, I called yesterday and they told me you was going to call me today. And she's like, oh, they got ahead of themselves. And I'm like, Now you got my hopes up. I'm thinking you about to call me and tell me what time I'm supposed to be there. So I'm getting ready or whatever. I'm like, well, I want to get something to eat, make sure I got everything together. I hadn't moved into my apartment yet, so I was like, well, let me go. And I was like, because when I have her, we just gonna come straight to the apartment. So I'm moving all my stuff to the apartment to make sure I have everything at least to last me 2 weeks or 3 weeks until I can go get more stuff or whatever. So I'm moving all the stuff into my apartment. And we go and get food or whatever. I want to say we went to Bellacino's. Yeah, we went to Bellacino's, got some food. I had washed and blow dried my hair that day, so my hair was just in a big afro or whatever. And then my daughter, we had to drop her off with her grandma or whatever. So I'm like, we just getting all that together. So let's say about like 3 o'clock, they call me and they like, you gotta be here by 8. And I'm like, 8, okay. I'm like, all right, 8, that's late. I'm like, I'm not gonna have her this Saturday. And I was like, hopefully it just be fast. So anyways, we drop my daughter off. We go to the hospital or whatever. Oh, and mind you, my mom had COVID during this time, so and she was in the hospital, so she wasn't able to be in the hospital with me. So she had my auntie come with me or whatever, and I'm texting my auntie in between these times, letting her know, okay, I gotta be at the hospital at 8, all this, that, and the other. So we get to the hospital, and I have to write down, you can only have during COVID, you can only have 2 people in the room. Yeah, 2 people in the room or whatever. So I wrote down my boyfriend and my auntie name or whatever, and they like, okay, so we sitting waiting to be put in triage or whatever, and then we in the triage or waiting or whatever. I told my auntie, like, yeah, we in here, they about to start the IV or whatever. I'm just letting her know. So they start the IV or whatever, and we just kind of waiting for, stuff to take off. So my auntie get there, and yeah, by this time, it's about, I don't even know. It was about like 10, I want to say. It was about like 10. While we just waiting. My auntie got there probably about like 8:30-ish, maybe. Because she had to do like the check-in process and everything too. But it's about like 10. We still just waiting. They come in, they up in my stuff. They like, okay, what's your birth plan? All this, that, and other. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm gonna try to do natural, but if I got pain, I'm gonna ask for the epidural. And they like, okay. They like, well, you got the tub in this room or whatever, so we can do you can use the tub too. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. And they like, if you want to do a water birth or whatever, you can do that since we got the tub and it's a midwife in. I'm like, great. I was like, but if we can't do a water birth, that's okay. And they like, okay. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm sitting there, just waiting it out. They up in the Pitocin. I took a couple naps by this time, and mind you, at like 2 a.m, it was about 2 a.m, the contractions start kicking in, and I'm like, they hurt. So I'm like, I pressed the little nurse button. I'm like, I'm in pain. Can you bring them in or whatever? Can I have the nitrogen gas? Something. It don't matter. Oh, I forgot that in my daughter's, whatever. It's okay. So I'm like, I need the nitrogen gas, something. And they like, okay, we'll send your nurse in. So then the nurse come in or whatever. She like, you in pain? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they kicking in or whatever. At this time, I'm probably about at like 7 on the Pitocin scale or whatever. They then upped it to like 7. I don't know what you go up to. I want to say it's like 10, but I don't know or whatever. So the contractions coming back to back to back. And I'm like, both my auntie and my boyfriend sleep on, my auntie on the couch and he in the chair. They knocked out. Like nobody, I'm calling the nurse or whatever. So then the nurse came in. That's when my auntie had woke up. And she like, okay, you want to try to get in the tub? And I'm like, yeah, we can try that. I just need to try something or whatever. I'm like, it hurt. And she like, okay, I'm going to get the tub together. So she run the bath water or whatever. And all I'm thinking is, I'm about to just jump in this tub while she doing this or whatever, because I'm just in pain. So she making sure it's warm or whatever, and tub running. And I'm just sitting there waiting. She like, well, where do you feel it at? And I'm like, down there. I feel the pressure down there. Like, it's in my back and it's down there. Like, it just hurt, okay? And they like, well, do you feel like you want to get checked before you get in the tub? And I'm like, we can. I'm like, just, I guess, or whatever, just so I know where I'm at or whatever. I was like, I say I'm probably about like at 5 centimeters. I was right. I was about 5 centimeters. They checked me. They're like, oh, yeah, you about 5 centimeters. I'm like, I knew it. So then I get in the tub. It eased it a little bit. Like, it was not working. I'm sitting in the tub. I'm like, whoo. I'm like, it's not working. I was in the tub all of 2 to 3 minutes. I'm like, it's not working. I'm going to get out. So then I get out or whatever. And she like, do you want something else? I'm like, I want the epidural. Give me the epidural. And they're like, okay, well, we got to call the anesthesia team or whatever. And I'm like, that's fine. Call them. I don't care. This hurt. I can't do it. So then she like, anesthesias with an emergency C-section with somebody else. And I'm like, dog. And I'm gonna have to wait for the, cause I'm thinking about how I was with my daughter. I'm like, I'm gonna have to wait for them to actually put the needle in. I was like, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I'm not gonna be able to do it. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah. I'm like, well, can we have a nitrogen gas while we wait? Cause I'm thinking this, I'm in pain. I need something to relieve this right now. So, I believe boyfriend had woke up by this time. So I'm like, I need the nitrogen gas. She like, well, by the time that I set it up, the anesthesia team is probably gonna be here. I'm like, I don't care, lady. Give me the nitrogen gas. Like, set it up. I'm like, you telling me you don't know what anesthesia gonna be here, and you talk about by the time you get it set up, they gonna be here, but you don't know that. So what if you don't get this set up and then it's even longer? So get it set up. So I'm telling her, go ahead, set it up. I don't care. So she's setting up the nitrogen gas. She get it set up. She give me the mask. I take about 2 puffs, and I start getting a little woozy. I lay down, and then here come anesthesia. So I get up. Hold on, watch out. Anesthesia talking to me, asking me all them dang on questions. Hold on, Steve. But yeah, they asking me all these questions, and they just going down the list or whatever. Again, they told us only one person could be in for when anesthesia come in, so my auntie left out. And they asking me all these questions, and I'm like, okay, no, answering them. And I'm like, oh, dang, I got hot because of the flash, but I gotta hurry up and finish this because I'm only on 11%. So, where was I at? Oh, they asking me all these questions, the anesthesia people or whatever. So they asking me all these questions and contractions going. And I'm like about to scream and start crying at this point. I'm like, you asked that question already. I'm getting irritated. And he's like, I'll give you a minute or whatever. And he waiting. And I'm like, you can still ask the questions. Like, come on, because the longer you wait to ask me these questions, the longer I got to wait to get this epidural. They give me a pillow. I'm like, what the hell is this pillow going to do? So I keep standing up. I'm like squatting and stuff and holding the hospital bed. I'm on the hospital bed holding the rails. I'm like, I'm in so much pain. And I'm like, oh, screaming in so much pain. They like, check her. Because basically I'm doing too much. So they check me and they're like, oh, she had 9 centimeters. And I'm like, oh, I did it. Like completely just calm. Oh, I did it. And they like, yeah, you did. And I'm like, I only got 1 centimeter to go. Then I'm thinking, I'm like, I got to push this baby out. Then I go, oh, I can't do it. They like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You could do it. And I'm like, no, I can't. I can't do it. Stop telling me that I can do it because I already know that I can't do it. I can't do it. And they like, you can do it. You can do it. I'm like, tell me to calm down. I'm like, calm down. I'm telling myself, calm down, Tavia, calm down. Trying to breathe through these contractions. I was in so much pain. Then they like, okay, so they getting stuff together and they like, all right, you can start pushing. Your body gonna tell you what to do. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, it hurt. I can't do it. No, or whatever. And they like, I'm like, I know as much as I push, like the more I push, the better it's gonna be. As soon as I get this baby out, the contractions gonna stop. I'm gonna feel better. So I'm like, let me get this baby out. So I'm pushing. I get about 3 pushes in. I'm like, where her head at? They like, it's right there. She coming. I'm like, okay, whatever. They like, her head coming out more and more as you push. I'm thinking, say less, because she about to come out. So I'm screaming, I can't get through these contractions. I'm like, I tell the nurse, she talking to me. I'm talking about, help me. Like, she can do anything. She can't do nothing but talk to me. But I'm telling her to help me. I'm like, I need to calm down. She like, calm down, you could do this or whatever. Then I don't know if she was a midwife, but the one nurse came in and she pulled me together because she came in and she grabbed my hand and she like, you could do this, all this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay. She like, just calm down and you won't have to push or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I'm pushing. I want to say I got about 6 pushes in and her head was out. Then they talk, well, I don't even know how many pushes I did. Probably 5. But her head was out, and they talk about wait for her shoulders. I'm like, I ain't waiting. This junk hurt. I pushed her out. She came out, put her on my chest. I'm like, I did it. I low-key was about to start crying with her because that was a different feeling or whatever than the first one. But yeah, pushed her out. But it was crazy. Like that whole little, I only had one stitch with her. I want to say with my first one, I had a bunch of stitches. I don't even know. It was bad. I ripped like second degree or whatever. But this time I didn't do all of that. So yeah, both was an experience for sure. Um, the epidural was great, but I wouldn't change doing it naturally either because it's a different feeling.
Okay, guys, so in my stories, both of them in part 1 and part 2, I missed a lot. But I just want to say this. When you are in labor, it is like so surreal. It's really like a movie. Like, only thing that you paying attention to are the doctors getting the baby out, and it's just you and your mind. But yeah, I'm like, it was definitely a different experience for both daughters. One with epidural and one naturally. But yeah, it's crazy, like what you go through during the labor process. But I did miss a lot. But yeah, my support system was great. And yeah, I got through it, and my babies are here, and I wouldn't change anything about it.